Lots going on. Good evening, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and the story tonight as the FBI claims to have lost 5 months of text messages between these two individuals who were kicked off and removed from the Mueller probe, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. Now, top Republicans say that they have really gotten to the point where they're fed up with the lack of answers on all of this, and they say there may now be real grounds for a second special counsel to investigate what is going on. According to a statement just released moments ago by Congressman Gowdy, Goodlatte, and Nunes, quote, rather than clearing up prior FBI and DOJ actions, these recently produced documents cause us to further question the credibility and objectivity of certain officials at the FBI. Congressman Trey Gowdy and John Ratcliffe will be here in a moment with more on that. With the question that is seriously being considered now on Capitol Hill tonight, was there a fix at the FBI and the DOJ to not go after Hillary Clinton? That's the baseline question. Fox News Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry, live at the White House with the breaking news tonight. Hi, Ed.
Martha, good to see you. And breaking tonight, sources close to the House Intel Chairman Devin Nunes tell Fox that, in fact, he and some other key Republicans are now moving to begin the process to release that 4-page memo that is at the center of these allegations that top Obama officials at the FBI and the Justice Department were conducting surveillance of top Trump officials. These Republicans include Nunes, who I mentioned, but also Trey Gowdy and Bob Goodlatte, who's chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. That's important because he has oversight of both the FBI and the Justice Department. And what they're doing, I'm told, is going through the steps they have to take to release that memo to the public by early February. Now, the FBI just put out a statement a few moments ago under pressure saying they want a copy of this 4-page memo, and they've requested it from the House Intel Committee, but so far they've declined. The FBI says they'll take appropriate action if they see the memo. These Republicans, though, on the House Intel Committee and elsewhere say that the FBI knows what's in the memo, and they think that by releasing it, it'll put pressure on Attorney General Jeff Sessions to appoint a second special counsel beyond Robert Mueller to probe these allegations that during the campaign and the transition, Obama officials were basically spying on Trump officials. I'm told Nunes and the other Republicans involved were compelled to act because they're angry about learning this weekend the FBI is claiming it did not retain text messages between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page from December 14th of 2016 to May 17th of 2017. That's an amazing coincidence, since that covers a good chunk of the presidential transition, the early days of the Trump administration, but also because May 17th happens to be the day that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein appointed Mueller to take over the Russia probe. Now, the Attorney General just put out a statement warning, quote, "We will leave no stone unturned to confirm with certainty why these text messages are not now available to be produced. We'll use every technology available to determine whether the missing messages are recovered from another source." Republicans upset because this is reviving those suspicions about emails wiped from Hillary Clinton's server, on top of the fact that some of the new text messages between Strzok and Page may cause trouble for former FBI Director James Comey. Watch.
You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something?
I don't know. You know how it works digitally. Did you try to wipe the whole server?
I don't know how it works digitally at all.
I have not coordinated this statement or reviewed it in any way with the Department of Justice or any other part of the government. They do not know what I'm about to say.
Now, Comey was testifying there under oath that then Attorney General Loretta Lynch and other top officials did not know in advance he was not going to suggest criminal charges in the Clinton probe, even though these new text messages suggest between Strzok and Page that, in fact, Lynch knew that charges were not coming. Meanwhile, Sessions tonight is saying that the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz is probing what happened to these text messages, and there are rumblings on Capitol Hill tonight that the Inspector General at the Justice Department may have already gotten those text messages before they disappeared. So we may see them soon, and there could be some real trouble for the FBI. Martha?
Ed, thank you very much. My next two guests are the only two House Judiciary members who have seen the new texts between Strzok and Page. Congressman Trey Gowdy and Congressman John Ratcliffe join me now. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Martha, good to be with you.
Ed Henry, good to have you with us. Ed Henry laid out a lot of the breaking news this evening and the memo that you put out. I want to go back a little bit, though, because with regard to Lisa Page and the fact that she says in these text messages messages. And let's put up what she said. And she's referring to the fact that Loretta Lynch has said at this point that she is going to step aside, that no politically appointed official is going to make judgment on the Hillary Clinton situation. She's going to let the FBI do it. And that's how we know that Comey came forward and made his announcement. And she says, well, you know, about that, she said this. It's a real profiling courage since she knows no charges will be brought. And here's an exchange with James Comey and Congressman Ratcliffe. Let's watch this.
Director, did you make the decision not to recommend criminal charges relating to classified information before or after Hillary Clinton was interviewed by the FBI on July the 2nd?
After. All I can do is tell you again, the decision was made after that because I didn't know what was going to happen in that interview.
Congressman Ratcliffe, what's your thought on that exchange now that you've seen these text messages?
Well, I don't think that former Director Comey could have been more clear that the decision wasn't made until after that July 2nd interview, and that's the way that it should have been. But as you just said, those text messages that we saw earlier today indicate that Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, and Loretta Lynch all apparently knew on the 1st of July that Hillary Clinton wasn't going to be charged. That's inconsistent with what the director said. So he needs to be given the opportunity to come back and clarify his testimony under oath.
Yeah, so Congressman Gowdy, will he be given the opportunity to do that, especially given the piece that Ed Henry also just included on July 5th, where he said no one knows the conclusion that I came to until now?
Yeah, you have to talk to Jim Comey if you're looking into decisions made by the Department of Justice and the FBI in 2016. He's frankly shown no reluctance to come testify before Congress, primarily if it's in a public session. At some point, we're going to have to talk to him again, not so much about Russia and his removal from office, but about the decisions he made in 2016. It's really clear to me that the decision was made in May of 2016, 2 months before the press conference. So, of course, Loretta Lynch knew it wasn't going to be charged. Everyone except the public knew that she was not going to be charged.
Congressman Gowdy, with regard to these new texts and the idea that there could be a special counsel, a second special counsel requested to look into this, how are you pursuing that?
Well, these texts are incredibly important, Martha, for a number of reasons, both what's there and what's not there. So lay aside this glaring 5-month gap in texts that the world's premier law enforcement agency somehow missed. Lay that aside. What we have seen, what Johnny and I saw today, was a text about not keeping text. We saw more manifest bias against President Trump all the way through the election into the transition. And I saw an interesting text that Director Comey was going to update the President of the United States about an investigation. I don't know if it was the Hillary Clinton investigation, because remember that had been reopened in the fall of 2016, or whether it was the Trump investigation. I just find it interesting that the head of the FBI was going to update the President of the United States, who at that point would have been President Obama.
Yeah, who by the way, had said on the record, let's roll the President Obama soundbite from his interview with Fox News Sunday about this. Watch.
She would never intentionally put America in any kind of jeopardy. I continue to believe that she has not jeopardized America's national security. Now, what I've also said is that, and she's acknowledged, that there's a carelessness in terms of managing emails that she has owned and she recognizes. But I also think it is important to keep this in perspective.
It's interesting to me, Congressman Ratcliffe, that at the beginning of that he uses the word intent, because that's the word that was used by James Comey, that there was no intent to allow this classified information to go into places that it shouldn't have been. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it does make you wonder. Again, it's a strange coincidence. Just as you know, it's possible that these text messages that are missing, perhaps they really were lost. Perhaps it is another strange coincidence. The problem, Martha, is for former prosecutors like Chairman Gowdy and myself that worked at the department and worked with the FBI, it makes it harder and harder for us to explain away one really strange coincidence after another. Look, the point, I think, with respect to the issue of bias that Chairman Gowdy mentioned before, we knew that Strzok and Page had an intense anti-Trump bias. And that's okay so long as they check it at the door and do their job. But we learned today in the thousands of text messages that we reviewed that perhaps they may not have done that. There's certainly a factual basis to question whether or not they acted on that bias. We know about this insurance policy that was referenced in trying to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president. We learned today about information that in the immediate aftermath of his election, that there may have been a secret society of folks within the Department of Justice and the FBI, to include Page and Strzok, that would be working against him. I'm not saying that actually happened, but when folks speak in those terms, they need to come forward to explain the context with which they use those terms.
Congressman Gowdy, do you want to expound on the secret society idea?
Sure, I wish I could. I wish I'd been the one who either sent that text or received it. You have this insurance policy in the spring of 2016, and then the day after the election, the day after what they really didn't want to have happen, there's a text exchange between these two FBI agents, these two supposed to be objective, fact-centric FBI agents, saying perhaps this is the first meeting of the secret society. So, of course, I'm going to want to know what secret society are you talking about, because you're supposed to be investigating objectively the person who just won the Electoral College. So, yeah, I'm going to want to know.
Congressman Gowdy, you know, in terms of that glitch of the missing text messages, those months, are you going to subpoena the phone companies to get those text messages?
You know, Martha, Congress is not great at using legal process like subpoenas and search warrants. Of course, we want that. I hope Mike Horowitz, the Inspector General, got them. Unfortunately, the way our government's set up, law enforcement is better able to go to communications carriers and get text and instant messages than Congress is. So, yes, I want them, but I don't want them 2 years from now, and I don't want them after a motion to be held in contempt of Congress. I want them sooner rather than later. So either the Bureau needs to find them, or we need to have someone who has really easy access to these text messages, and it may be law enforcement.
Let me ask either one of you this last very quick question. The 4-page memo of the FISA abuses that it details, will there be a criminal referral made to DOJ with regard to that?
I don't know that Johnny and I, either one, are into referring cases to you know, we used to work there. We're not there anymore. I'm going to let them sort out the criminality. It's not my job to make criminal referrals. It is my job to provide oversight.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Good to see you both tonight.
Thanks,
yes,
Martha.
ma'am. Thank you.
So this is not